More than 24 hours after a helicopter came crashing down on a Sacramento freeway, the 3 victims are still in the hospital in critical condition. Tonight, we're learning new information about one of those victims as her friends are praying for her and the other victims.
I'm praying that there can be a miracle. I lit a candle and I started praying and I cried.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our news at 11. I'm Edie Lambert.
I'm Golston Dart. Here's the latest on what we know tonight. Friends are confirming one of the people critically injured in that chopper is longtime flight nurse Susie Smith. She, along with the pilot and a paramedic, were hospitalized in critical condition last night.
The FAA and the NTSB are leading the investigation into what happened in the moments before the crash. And tonight, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office is crediting that pilot for the way he handled the emergency.
And we've also gotten this new video tonight. It shows the helicopter's moments of impact on Highway 50. In this dash cam video, you can see the chopper flying very low on the right of your screen. Once the helicopter clears the trees, you can see it makes that hard landing into the highway embankment and then skids and rolls across all of the lanes. Then you can see a lot of smoke. People jumping out of their cars immediately, without hesitation, running right over to find ways to help that crew on board. We have team coverage of the latest on the helicopter crash tonight, including insight from a pilot who survived 2 helicopter crashes. We're going to start tonight with KCRA 3's Andres Valle.
So, Andres, we know you spoke with people who knew one of the victims. What are they saying tonight?
Well, they're saying that they need all the prayers they can get for a really quick recovery for all 3 of those victims. And all 3 of those victims are currently being treated right here at UC Davis Medical Center, and they're all in critical condition.
We're just praying for a miracle. We know God hears our prayers, and it's dire. You know, she's in a dire situation.
And that's how Travis Osborne is describing Susie Smith's current medical condition. He identified her as the flight nurse that was on board the medical helicopter that crashed on Highway 50 in Sacramento Monday night. Travis is Susie's pastor at Valley Christian Family in Redding. He says the entire church community is overwhelmed with the news.
It's just the grief over the concern of we're praying that the brain swelling goes down.
I lit a candle and I started praying and I cried because it just seems like always the best people in this world seem to be the ones that get hurt or, you know, things happen to.
Longtime friend Mary Beaver telling us Susie travels to Nicaragua every year to fix cleft palates and is the most giving person she's ever known.
She's just one of those exceptional people that's out there using her, you know, her intelligence in that to help people, but just that type of person that will go over there on her own expense and help those people.
2 others were also seriously hurt in the crash. A paramedic and the pilot all are being treated at UC Davis Medical Center.
I'll mention Susie would have words for us again if we were not also praying and for her crew.
Now they're leaning on their faith in the hopes everyone recovers.
And we know God hears our prayers and he has power to heal. And so we're calling upon him.
And they're really, truly leaning on their faith. The pastor told me that earlier tonight they held a prayer service for all 3 of those victims that drew in about 350 people, and that was at their congregation out in Redding. As for the rest of the other victims, the pilot and the paramedic, we're trying to get more information and provide you updates on their condition as well. But again, we're still working on getting that information to you guys. We're live here in Sacramento. Andres Valle, KCRA 3 News.
Andres, thank you. We have more on those moments after the helicopter crashed and people got out of their cars and rushed in to help. Some helped the firefighters lift and push that helicopter off of one of the victims who was trapped underneath.
Just ran up to the helicopter, grabbed a piece of the tail section there where there was a space, and when they started to tell us to lift, we started lifting it up.
So I jumped out of the car and ran up there, and at the time there were only, I don't know, 3 or 4 people around the helicopter. One was down trying to talk to one of the paramedics, and she was obviously pinned in by the helicopter itself, and she at least was moving, but we're trying to keep her still so that she wasn't, going to cause any damage from her contact with the metal, and so I was holding her legs while the lady up front was trying to talk her down and make sure she, calmed down a bit.
It was just amazing how many people just started running to help, and I thought, I guess I just thought this was amazing, and I started taking a video of it. And people didn't question.
And now we can see their heroism there. Well, more now on that new dash cam video that we got of the crash tonight. This one's giving us a clearer look at the moment that the helicopter hit the ground. Curtis Ming walks us through it.
We begin the video with a driver merging onto eastbound 50. You can see there's an accident in the westbound lanes, causing traffic on that side of the road to back up. Moments later, you could see the chopper on the right. At this point, it already appears to be flying low. And just a few seconds later, you could see the chopper dropping fast, and it crashes into the embankment, skidding and then flipping onto the highway. You could see cars dodging the crash, pulling over on the side of the road. Look how close it came to hitting this car on the left. Seconds after the crash, a driver runs from his vehicle toward the wreckage, while two people who are in that SUV console one another over witnessing the traumatic sight. And seconds later, a law enforcement officer who just happened to be there pulls up on his motorcycle as other cars come to a stop. Curtis Ming, KCRA 3 News.
It is worth noting the traffic in the westbound lanes were bumper to bumper because of that earlier crash. If that helicopter had come down in those lanes, this could have been a major tragedy. We're also learning more now about the helicopter that crashed. It's known as Reach 5. It was an H-130 Airbus helicopter. This is it right here. It has a single engine. It's tailored to moving people in medical missions. Reach has this photo on its website of the same type of chopper. Federal records show the chopper that crashed was manufactured in 2021. And Reach, by the way, stands for Redwood Empire Air Care Helicopter. They offer critical care air services throughout California, Nevada, Oregon, Colorado, and Wyoming. And tonight, a chopper crash survivor who's an aviation expert is sharing what he thinks may have caused the crash.
Our team coverage continues with KCRA 3's Peyton Headley in our newsroom. So, Peyton, what was his perspective on this?
Yeah, well, he said from watching videos of the crash and analyzing the data of the flight path, he believes there was likely some type of engine failure. But he says this pilot appears to have followed his training while getting that chopper on the ground.
Okay, this is the throttle.
Inside this flight simulator,
This one is your speed. Okay. This is your altitude.
hundreds of people have learned how to become pilots.
So in life and in flying, attitude is very important.
Some of them with the help of Captain Augustine Joseph.
Okay, now you're climbing passing 2,000 feet.
He's been flying for over 40 years.
I flew fighters and gunships for many years before I came out of the Air Force and started flying commercial. I also fly helicopters.
After so much time in the cockpit, he knows how quickly calm can turn to crisis.
Everybody's happy, and then boom, within a second, the engine goes out and there's no noise of the engine anymore. All the lights come on inside the cockpit warning you that engine has failed.
It's happened to him while flying a helicopter over Hawaii. He says his training quickly kicked in.
I did what's called an auto-rotative maneuver and glided the helicopter, turned 180 degrees to find a spot behind me. And then the total time from engine failure to actually hitting the ground was 13 seconds.
Watching video of the crash from Monday evening, Joseph says the pilot of that Reach helicopter appeared to be doing the same maneuver, attempting to keep the blade spinning to glide the helicopter to the ground.
Somehow, in that process, in the last maybe 50, 60, 100 feet or whatever, it seems like he lost control or hit something that caused the helicopter just to go off control and crash onto the ground.
Dashcam video obtained by KCRA 3 shows the chopper hit an embankment before crashing on the freeway. The video bringing back tough memories for Joseph of the 3 years he spent in a wheelchair following his crash, but a reminder of just how important training is.
As long as we operate machines, as long as we are dependent on things that can fail, it will happen. But we keep working towards the safety.
And as for why that helicopter didn't explode or catch on fire, he says it has a crash-resistant fuel system. It's one of the newer helicopters. He says it's designed to prevent those post-crash fires. Edie.
All right, Peyton, thank you. We will continue to follow this on air and online as we get updates on the conditions of those 3 crew members who were injured in the crash and the investigation into what happened to that helicopter.